All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hideout. This is our first episode back from a little bit of a break over the holidays, so I hope everyone had a very nice holiday season. I bet that there are still some people that are on holiday, and I know we'll have a lot of people watching the recorded version on this one. But for those of you who are here now, very excited to have you here. Hope you all had that nice holiday, and you guys will get a better chance at winning the prizes when we do the giveaway. So thanks for being here. Today, we are going to have an exciting panel with two awesome speakers, one new speaker and one that has been here before. So definitely, excited to jump in. For those of you who don't know me, I think most of the people here I see are familiar, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick Frontera. I am one of the founders and the CEO of Apollo Entertainment, the company behind the Satoshiverse. Gosh, we've been building in the space for about 4 years now with Satoshiverse. I've been in the space coming on probably 7 or 8 years now. Really just, an enthusiast of NFTs and blockchain and gaming and kind of the intersection of all those things. I left a career as an IP lawyer to start diving down this deep, endless hole of blockchain and all it can do for us. So very excited to continue to do this and to keep pushing these Hideout episodes forward. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Satoshiverse, I'll touch on this real quick. We have been building a blockchain-themed superhero IP for about 4 years now. We have our flagship game, Legions 2029, which is a fast-paced hack and slash game that is fully blockchain enabled. I won't dive too deep into that, but you can check out the pinned tweet at the top of the Spaces. We just wrapped up our season 1 leaderboard contest, so we'll be distributing prizes there fairly soon. Some of those won't be in to the game until we release our season 2, which we're getting ready for soon as well. So lots coming up. We're going to have a town hall in the next couple of weeks to talk deep about what's going on there, but maybe we'll get into a little bit of that later in the Spaces. We're just trying to get one more of our speakers on board, on stage. But while we do that, why don't we jump over to the Moon? Could you give us a quick introduction and welcome to the Spaces?
Sure. Well, thank you for having us here. So my name is Gorian. I'm the head of content at To The Moon, basically, and you might know us previously from our old name, which was Cryptology. We just rebranded to The Moon. Everybody knows, what To The Moon means, so I don't need to introduce that part. Yeah, so we're a European-based crypto exchange with our offices mainly in Cyprus, but with people all around the world. In short, that's about it.
Okay, very cool. Well, I think we are trying to get our friends on Wizardia up here. I think we might be having some technical issues on that part. Let me see. If not, we can start diving in. Maybe Spencer, if you want to kind of do the introductions and the housekeeping, as soon as we get Wizardia in here, we'll get them up on stage and then they can do an introduction. But until then, we can start talking about some of these topics.
Sure thing. And excuse me, I have a little bit of a dry cough, so if I start coughing, that's why. But yeah, my name is Spencer Vogel, and I'm the business development manager here with Satoshiverse and with basically with the Hideout account here. So really excited to be here. So just getting a little bit into the format of the space and what we're doing here today. So first thing I want to do is announce.
Hey, Spencer, I think you might be cutting out, at least for me.
In-game resources within the Satoshiverse. So what I'm going to do right now is pin the tweet to the top of the space. So that tweet that I just pinned that says we're live, in order to enter, all you have to do is repost that tweet that says we're live, and then just stick around until the end of the space when we close out, when we choose a winner. So moving on to the format of this space, though, we're going to start out with a group question. So feel free to just jump in and answer the question. I'll start calling someone to start, but feel free to just jump into the conversation after that. No need to raise hands or anything like that. Then we'll get into some individual questions, and then if we still have time at the end, then we'll do some more group questions. So I think before we jump into the first question, though, I think we're still working on trying to get Wizardi up here, right?
Yeah, I don't see them in the crowd yet. I know we're back and forth with them on DM, so we'll get them up here and then make it happen. But we can jump in for now.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Well, to the moon, we'll have you start out on this one, and then we'll just kind of jump in from there. So, what do you predict will be the largest catalyst for mainstream adoption of cryptocurrencies and NFTs?
Sure, I'll get the ball rolling. So, as I mentioned, my expertise lies in content, and something that we frequently have in mind, basically, when producing content to the moon, is the education part. Now, the main catalyst to answer your question here would be basically improved user experience, and accessibility to people. I've noticed from personal standpoint that a lot of projects have issues educating the audience on how their token works or how this works or how that works, basically. And we face the same issue, as we're trying to make crypto accessible to everybody. We want to educate everybody properly on how things work. And I think that will be one of the main catalysts in the near future for crypto.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that educating in a different way and in a more meaningful way, I think is also important too, right? Because I think there's been in the early days, I think out of necessity, when you go back to early Bitcoin, you had the maxis kind of being like, this is the future. If you don't get on board, you're gonna, suffocate because of government, oppression and all these like crazy themes. And I think there's still a lot of people who believe that, and I think that's fair. But I think crypto has evolved into a much more, consumer facing and common day spectrum of, decentralization, hybridization, centralization with decentralized elements. And I think that as we start to think about crypto and how it applies to different use cases, when we're educating, I think we have to be educating on the value prop for that specific thing, right? What does crypto actually enable that we couldn't do before? And so, we wear the gaming and NFT cap a lot. And then I think once you go beyond that, there's crazy things. You start to look at like DPIN and what it could do for, decentralized compute and some of the issues we're going to be tackling with AI and incentivization, distribution and stuff like that. I think there's, the educating on that is going to be very different than the educating on how blockchain is going to be used in a game, for example, right? So it's definitely important, I think, to do that. I guess what I would add is whether it's education or more just, companies like ours and yours and just the outreach that we're doing to businesses. It's one thing, I think, to get consumers thinking that crypto is good for them. But I think we have to, especially in the gaming and NFT side, really start to establish and demonstrate sustainable business models around blockchain and NFTs so that we can see adoption from major players in these different entertainment spaces, right? And so when we were kind of had the last NFT boom, we, for example, worked with a lot of brands that were interested in releasing their own NFTs. And, I think at that point, they were just happy to get their toes wet. But if there's going to be kind of this continued adoption and expansion that people don't even know that they're interacting with the blockchain per se, they just want to experience their favorite IP in a new way, maybe have some of the ownership elements, put into that. I think we have to really start to convince businesses, hey, you can expand the pie with this. You can increase the bottom line. You could provide something for your collectors or consumers that you couldn't do before. And, I think with gaming, especially if we're talking about mainstream adoption in gaming, my thesis is that it's more important to get the major game developers understanding how this expands, their reach or capabilities than it is to get consumers, begging them to do it. Because I think that the key catalyst from the gaming side is going to be major games back-ending blockchain technology. And I think we're going to see that. We already are seeing that to some extent. But when we talk about like GTA, the new GTA coming out, for example, there's a huge opportunity there to have, blockchain-backed digital assets in those games and see real player economies emerge and all these metaverses that are popping up. Sorry, that was long-winded, but I think it's a big question, and I think my core answer is it's going to depend on which sector of the crypto space we're talking about. But I like your answer. I think educating is key, and just how we educate becomes the important part, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Absolutely agree with you. And the thing there is, you did mention businesses, but we also aim to educate, younger people. As I mean, they do tend to know more than the older generations, but the thing there is, they're future leaders. And as we are all fighting for widespread adoption of crypto, it helps a lot, and it will help a lot in the future when these people, get to certain positions. And in crypto and cryptocurrency and NFTs and everything, it's very familiar to them. So the goal there is, to get content accessible to everybody, to get data accessible to everybody, so you can just find accurate articles, accurate videos, which also can be a problem, the accurate part. And we at To The Moon try to produce a lot of content that's easily digestible, that's precise, and super important, that's user-friendly and accurate in this case. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point that a lot of people probably don't talk about because it's a little bit on the nose. But when you start to look at the major kind of disseminators of content within the crypto space, and I won't name any of them, but this probably applies to most of them. A lot of that content is sponsored content, right? That's being funded by XYZ, blockchain or project or whatever it is. So even though it may look educational, the educating that they're doing may be skewed in a particular direction, right? And so I do think we need to incentivize and just to have more altruistic, development of educational content. I think protocols are in a great position to do it, like an exchange, like a blockchain that's kind of doesn't necessarily need to, point people in their direction per se, but because they are one of the options and they happen to be the one educating, maybe people will come to them. So I think it creates a better model than, let's say, a news service that has more of a profit-driven, direction to do these educational articles. I know I always read these articles to try to get updates and try to, learn about something new. And there's always something weaved in where it's like, and you can go here to do this. And I'm like, all right, well, yes, but that may not be the best place. That may be, specific to a thing. They may be kind of skewing the recommendations for that. So I totally agree. I think your point about young people is spot on too, right? Like, I think maybe I was part of the first generation that really deeply experienced digital currencies in the form of gaming, right? Where I would get onto Diablo, for example, when it first released, and I would have my coins and I would trade with people, and that currency meant something even though it was digital. And I felt like I owned the items that I had in my inventory, and I worked hard to get. And I think that you're right. Like, this new generation, the kind of the Roblox, Fortnite, generation is very, very familiar with the concept of digital ownership, and, maybe not familiar with the legal terms that actually say that they don't own anything, but are definitely at least very accustomed to the idea that owning something digitally has value, right? And I think that is, when we get down to it, that's the premise for all of crypto, right? Owning, or at least NFTs, owning something digitally has value, and therefore we're going to build infrastructure so that can be done in a meaningful way. And so, yeah, so it looks like we got Wizardia on board despite I won't even know. I feel like the algorithm just watches, so I won't make any negative comments about Twitter. We're all positive. But yeah, that. Wizardia, great to have you. Are you here? Let's see if now we got your voice working. I guess either Ryan or Wizardia, feel free. Jump on.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I do apologise about the issues we had to start off with, but I'll be using my personal profile here, and massive thank you to you, Nick, and the entire team at Satoshiverse for hosting again. We absolutely love being here and working in the space along with you guys. And to the moon, always good to be meeting new people in the space as well, and together we'll be able to grow it all to the moon.
I love it. So for those who may need a refresher on what Wizardia is all about and what you guys have been up to, why don't you give us the quick introduction and tell us what you're doing, then we'll dive back into the questions. Oh, one thing I forgot to say before, but I should definitely mention, maybe Spencer said it when his voice cut out, but feel free if you have some new developments or images or a tweet that sums it all up, post that to the top of the spaces. That's always what I find to be the best thing for people to look at. So just, drop it up on top at the top of the spaces and people will be able to see it. All right. With that, back to you, Ryan, to tell us a little bit more about Wizardia and what you guys are up to.
Yeah, so we're starting to gear up. We've got some really, really exciting updates to come. I am under strict instruction not to give too much away, but it's been a long road, and the things that we've got coming over the next month or so is literally going to blow your minds. It's something we've been working on for the better part of a year now, so to see it starting to come to fruition is really good. And I'm sure that our community, who's been extremely patient with us, are going to absolutely love it. But in a nutshell, Wizardia, a couple of things that we have been able to do is start releasing some new images, some new artwork, some teasers, which is super exciting. And anyone who is in the chat today or listens in the future who's unaware of Wizardia, we are a 3v3 battle royale type game. All of our wizards do have unique abilities, new attributes as well. So you're going to have your team of 3 wizards, and they have body, mind, and soul affinities, which makes them either stronger or weaker against the other. So it's really strategic, and it's really immersive because the characters in the game have incredible artwork, and that's what I really liked about Diablo all them years ago. They always seem to be a cut above other games in terms of their artwork. And something that really stands out for me with Wizardia, and this is something that we've spoken about a lot in other spaces, Nick, is the lore behind Wizardia. It's enough to fill comic books. Every single character has a full story, and we've actually started to post it and really tap into that a bit more, which is really going to be leveraged in the new updates to come. So stay tuned, and we've got some really good updates for you.
Amazing. Well, I'm definitely excited, and I love to see, for those of you who don't know, Wizardia was another project that's just been building all the way through the bull, the bear, the bull, the bear, all the way through. So I'm definitely excited to see that you guys are still around, pumping new updates, getting new stuff out there. So we'll be on pins and needles until you guys announce, and then maybe once you guys announce it, we'll get you back on here to talk all about it. We love having you on as well. So why don't we do this? Why don't we jump back into the question, Spencer, and then I'll just keep blabbing on and on and on and on whenever prompted.
Totally, yeah. So I guess I wanted to give Ryan the opportunity to answer that first question, just while we're still kind of on that topic, and then we can move into the individual questions. But the first group question that we were on, and really what we were talking about mostly in this first part that you missed, was around education. So maybe you have some other ideas, but the question was, what do you predict will be the largest catalyst for mainstream adoption of cryptocurrencies and NFTs?
Yeah, straight up, I do agree. Education is always the way forward, not just even with crypto, but life itself. Otherwise, I'm going to be real generic in my answer here, but straight up, a US pro-crypto government's going to be huge for the industry. Anything that happens with the strategic Bitcoin reserve would be really like a propeller into the mainstream world. It'll be a catalyst for so many other countries, organizations, institutions, really to usher in an entire new wave of investment. So, we're going to see, we're already starting to see it with, ETFs around the world, hedge funds, pension funds. Everyone's going to start to get into it. And over time, as these things start to become more normal and the education starts to really ramp up, crypto is just going to be a household thing rather than the bubble that it once was, which I guess we all got into it. As for NFTs, I think that it's a different story, NFTs to crypto. I think it's going to be all about utility beyond the collectibles. real world assets, the RWAs. This is something that gets me really excited. Digital ticketing, AI agents, proof of ownership for that kind of digital content. We already all live on our phones, and I think this is going to be a way that people start to immerse and adapt into it, almost like second nature as we do with our phones today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that, one of the things you said is something that I think is so important, and well, all the things you said were pretty cool, but the one thing in particular that resonated with me was this idea about Bitcoin, right? And what a general positive market outlook could look like, and how that trickles down, right, to the rest of us. And, I think we're all kind of builders in the space, but we're also participants. We're all loading our bags with the projects that we think are going to do well. We all have our own kind of investment thesis on what we like to invest in. Everybody's got kind of their own path on, and some people are more successful than others. I'm usually wrong, so don't have to invest in anything I believe in, but I think that long term, what we see when Bitcoin, pumps, and yeah, sure, we have the altcoin cycles, and that's all good, and I think it's going to continue to be cyclical. But with that, I think comes a very large appetite for venture investment, private investment, institutional investment, and that ultimately is what we really need to be able to continue to experiment, right? To continue to develop projects, to push products, to try new things, even at lower funding levels, right? Trying to raise a couple $100K is much easier in a good bull market where Bitcoin is pumping, and the supporters of the industry are typically participants in it, right? So I think I'm really excited when our community invests in meme coins and makes lots of money, because I know that means that they're going to continue to reinvest and continue to support the space. And that's what we saw during that first NFT boom. Now, I think we learned a lot. I think we saw what was sustainable, what wasn't. But I think that those trickle down effects and continuing to be a believer in the space and support the space is what helps the space grow, right? So even if I'm not investing in certain things, I get very excited when those things do well, because, that means that people who believe in the space are benefiting, and hopefully they'll continue to believe in the space. So yeah, I just wanted to add that, because I think sometimes it's a bit strained to see how Bitcoin pumping might help NFT gaming, or whatever it might be, other than kind of the narratives around altcoin cycles. I think there's more to it than that, and that's kind of what I've seen maybe over the last 8 or 9 years that I've been in the space.
Awesome. And I'll just add my own 2 cents right here before we move on to the individual questions. But I think another big catalyst that I think it kind of ties into the education aspect as well. And I think a lot of people maybe aren't as willing to go through the whole education process that it really does take to get involved in crypto, which there is a big learning curve. And I think a lot of that is just like the lack of trust around it. And so because of that lack of trust, they're not willing to really make that jump and put in the effort. So, despite whatever your politics might be about this new government coming in, they are, going to be a more pro crypto government. So hopefully that, brings a little more trust to the entire space and makes people more willing to, get involved in a more substantial way, rather than just kind of the normal degenning that most people do. So, yeah. So moving on though. So individual question. Next we'll go to Gorgon. So what types of content do you think are most effective for driving user acquisition and retention, especially in the highly competitive crypto exchange market?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a strong pain point there, if I'm being honest, from content side. So, we as an exchange that's, as you mentioned, it's a very competitive market, but we as an exchange that's quite smaller in comparison to, Binance, Kraken, Coinbase, and others I should not name. The thing there is something that we've noticed is missing is a good academy. And something that we are trying to achieve this past couple of months and in the near future is devise a good academy for people. Basically, imagine yourself being a crypto noob, I would call it, a newbie, and you want to learn everything. How would you do that? So we tend to be a trusted platform for people to get information on almost everything you want to. From glossary, from short terms to large comprehensive articles on how things work. All of that covered within one academy. And even perhaps something, to think about is getting a certificate of sorts, that, okay, I've read a lot of things and now I know a lot of things, and you earn something, perhaps on crypto, perhaps a certificate, perhaps, something else, an NFT, why not? Things like that. So, your efforts can be, appreciated in this case. But, in short, to answer the question, in my personal opinion, is an academy. And that's for people who really like to learn everything from scratch. But, nowadays people tend to enjoy more short-term content, and a lot of acquisition and retention comes from a lot of videos, a lot of, reels and TikToks and YouTube and, things like that. People want to have diversity when digesting information. But although from content perspective, everything is welcome. As long as people enjoy it, as long as people come, as long as people, learn, it's a good deed.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Again, as a participant in the space moves so fast that being able to find trustworthy information on the new trends, like what is an AI agent and what does that mean for crypto, right? What is DeSci and what's happening with those tokens, and how do the DAO funding work for these types of projects? Actually understanding kind of what tokens are, not just from a, listing perspective, but from a general, space narratives perspective, and, what's happening, what are the new things, where are we just blindly following influencers into a particular meta, or do we actually understand the meta and believe in it? So I think it's totally, that's great content in my eyes. I think, one thing I don't see, just as a touch point, one thing I don't see a ton of, and maybe it's just because it's not popular to the masses, is content that educates projects and developers on what the exchange experience is, right? And even to this day, having been a founder in the space for a very long time, I think it would be quite a learning curve to really understand things like, listing procedures, what the partnerships look like, what the amount of liquidity that needs to be provided is, how market making works, and how all these things that are kind of left in the dark and unsaid and not consumer facing. There's not a ton of open dialogue about that, right? And I think that, there may be some opportunities. I think general participants would love to understand, how market making works, and understand that a lot of the, trading on exchanges isn't always just people who want to buy or sell the things. And there's a lot of transparency that I think could be added just about how exchanges work, right? How the back end works. And so, that's just a thought that I had as you were saying that, but I totally agree that the type of content that we should be consuming rather than memes of, arrows pointing up that we all post
Absolutely,
is
absolutely. There's a lot of things there, even from a perspective of just, simple investing and simple managing of funds. For example, you could try staking. People don't know how staking works, like in depth. What is custodial staking? What is non-custodial staking? And all those things are basically, transparently said to people and explained to people. So at the end of the day, they can make their own decision. It's our job, as employees, to introduce our product and explain how our product is superior or just better, or just how it covers all the pain points. And we try to do that, honestly, basically. But still, the goal from content perspective would be like, make your own decision and just make the decision while being educated,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's, again, so important that, I treasure kind of my trusted sources when I find them. And even then I have to take some of the stuff with a grain of salt. So becoming a trusted source in this ever growing and crazy environment, is so important. And I know you have to jump.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I really enjoyed this half an hour. I'm really sorry, guys, that we have a prior commitment. Thank you for having me, and until next time.
Absolutely. And for those here, give To the Moon a follow. Check out what they're doing. It was amazing having you on.
Thank you,
And
guys.
yeah, we'll see you next time.
Really
We'll definitely
appreciate it.
have you back on.
Have a wonderful
Take care.
day to everybody. Bye.
All right, cool. So back to you, Spencer. Why don't we jump into Wizardia's question?
Cool. Well, Ryan, your question is, so Wizardia is playable on both iOS and Android. So what do you think are some of the biggest benefits and challenges with building mobile games for Web3?
Yeah, great question. I mean, everyone wants to be on mobile. It has a great user base, don't get me wrong, but the complications that come with it are just as frustrating, but all good things that are worth working for. So benefits, straight up accessibility. It's the biggest user base for games in the world. Almost everybody has a phone and it's always on them. So it's easy not only for us to kind of touch base with other people, but they can just jump on and you get the user engagement side as well. So, transportable, they're on a bus, on the way to or from work, in the toilet. It's so easy to pull your phone out, start playing some games and spend 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, rather than, carrying around a PlayStation, an Xbox or a computer. So that's probably the biggest benefit of being on mobile, but it does also come with the monetization aspect. So in-app purchases, microtransactions, things like that, they're super well established. It's probably one of the most profitable business or sources of income or revenue generation out there. To be able to have a game, to be able to tap into that with the user engagement and the accessibility, it's just a giant recipe for success. But the challenges, accessibility is also a challenge. Everyone wants to be on mobile. Therefore, there is so much competition that's just not funny. You've really got to have, an X factor or something that helps you stand out, to be able to draw new players in and just as importantly to retain them. So, accessibility is definitely a double-edged sword. Some other challenges that we found were technical limitations. So blockchain, it's quite resource intensive. A lot of the time it won't align with mobile devices. There's always so many updates and upgrades to phones. If you're not up to date, then an app might just, drain your battery, kill the data usage and all that. So it is quite hard to find the perfect balance there. And although you do get user engagement, the flip side of that would be the user experience. We've already discussed education. It really does need to ramp up across the entire industry because user experience in crypto can be a little bit difficult for people who have never done it before. Like, wallet management, signing transactions. It can be quite cumbersome, and potentially deterring to users as well. Something else which is, I'm not sure if I'd call it a challenge or a benefit, but definitely something we need to overcome in a rapidly moving and ever-changing place is regulatory hurdles. It was already difficult to start with, but now we've got things like the travel rule, MiCA, all these things that really play a huge environment around the world. MiCA, more so here in Europe, does make it more strict. So these are the things that we have to overcome in order to really drive home the accessibility, user engagement, and deliver a product that people actually want to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, mobile is such an exciting medium right now. And I think for the future, right? I think the conception of mobile games and what mobile means right now, I believe is going to change quite a bit with the kind of the advent of cloud computing and just more powerful, server infrastructures that can stream to mobile devices. I think right now when we think about mobile games, we think about an app on the App Store, right? And I think in the very near future, and probably what that means to me is the next 1 to 3 years, we're going to be able to stream, full feature games. Maybe not multiplayer, highly competitive games because of the latency issues, but we're going to be able to stream really good high fidelity games. And instead of really our phones operating as the computing power, they're going to be the screen and the mouse and keyboard, right, or the controller for a lot of our games. And I think when that happens, we're going to see kind of this true leap of accessibility for even higher fidelity games. We talk about console, for example, which I know this question wasn't talking about that, but consoles right now are quite restrictive and on blockchain and the policies. But we do see, for example, Sony's got the blockchain that they're developing, and consoles are starting to adopt this. I think as we see, like you said, regulatory clarity around gaming and NFTs and blockchain and how they all fit together, we're going to see some of the bigger players start to understand that there's this massive downstream, player economy market that they could be tapping into and create business models around NFTs and gaming that will then extend to mobile. I think one of the things, maybe again, we don't want to get canceled, but, Apple has been a thorn in most Web3 game developers' sides because of their very restrictive, business model and how that doesn't really align always with blockchain and what people are doing. So a lot of games do workarounds. A lot of games just bit the bullet and said, all right, take 30%. We're going to do everything on your app. And I think that that's another challenge. But I'm really excited as we start to see just mobile devices become monitors rather than computers, what types of games we're going to be able to experience, on our mobile devices. And then that's not even to mention things like AR and VR, right? The advent of AR gaming, which I think is going to be what takes mobile gaming to the next level, right? Real life Pokemon Go style games that are just whatever that next evolution is. AR is advancing more rapidly than we can even imagine. We are going to one day be gaming on our AR devices, whether that's our phone or the glasses or contact lenses or who knows what, right? And I think that we haven't even scratched the surface there. But again, my opinion on this is it has to go back to that value proposition, right? Of blockchain and NFTs. Does owning something digitally matter, right? And I think as we start to see this hardware and software get just exponentially more powerful and our lives get exponentially more digitally integrated, owning digital will matter more, right? And so unless someone magically comes up with a new way of establishing true ownership over digital assets, the blockchain use case, the NFT use case continues to prove itself out. And it may not be 10K, animal PFPs, but it's going to, I think, be a revolution of how we think about digital assets and owning digital assets. And I'm excited. I think you're, spot on with what you're saying about mobile gaming. And I guess what I would say is I think the definition of mobile gaming is going to change dramatically in the next couple of years. I'll give you a chance to respond. I know I just said a lot.
Yeah, no, I always love to hear your point of it, but I think as mobile or as gaming itself grows, as everything grows, it's going to be mega exciting to be a part of, and there's still a lot of development that needs to go into AR and VR, and to understand that eventually it is something that's going to be carried around with us, and it's how we're all going to integrate with not just with gaming too, with life, and really exploring that element of the metaverse, which we've tapped into already, but haven't quite reached the full amount of it. I'm super excited to see what's coming forward in the future because it's really an unlimited space.
Awesome. Well, we do for once actually have time for an everyone question. Usually we run out of time at this point, but let's get into it. So this will be a fun topic. So AI has been a huge narrative in crypto recently, especially with AI agents, and, really just like the prices that we've been seeing, in the market. So, in what ways do you think AI will impact, gaming, DeFi, and really just like any aspect of the blockchain industry? Maybe Nick, do you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, I can start us. The answer is probably like it's going to change everything, right? Like I think AI is going to absolutely change almost every aspect of human existence in the next 10 years or 20 years. And I think it's scary and exciting, but narrowing it back kind of to blockchain and gaming. There are some, very particular use cases that immediately come to mind. I think the most obvious one is production cycles, right? You have just now, I learned about a new AI tool for Unreal Engine that's like an AI companion that helps you code blueprints and evaluate optimizations. And, as a team that has ranged between, 10 and 35 developers at different points in developing our game, AI will almost certainly triple, if not quadruple, the amount of output that we can have from a development perspective, with whatever amount of people it has. I think what AI is going to do is it's just going to, a lot of people think, oh, AI is going to replace jobs. I think that may be the case in some instances, but I actually think that both smaller studios and major AAA studios are going to, at least for now, be empowered to create things that would have been unimaginable for that studio before. I think you're going to see, 5 to 10 person studios creating AAA level games, what AAA means now and in the last 5 years. And I think we're going to have like almost a quadruple A, established where, we're going to be able to create gaming experiences. AAA studios with hundreds of people and millions of dollars in budget are going to be able to create things that really blow our minds. Everything from AI NPC integration, where we're able to have evolving narratives within games. I'm hoping to see some of that in the new GTA game, given some of the connections there. You're going to see just, on the blockchain side, I guess, the idea of AI agents that are able to effectively carry out an investment thesis, I think is really interesting. I think when we're talking about blockchain in gaming specifically, I think there's a lot of issues like liquidity, for example, that AI agents are going to be able to effectively arbitrage. I think one of the problems with our space is how fragmented everything is. I think AI has the potential through arbitrage and the incentives around it, even for smaller projects, to create efficiencies, if the right infrastructure is in place to allow that. And so I think we're also going to see huge developments in the infrastructure around blockchain gaming economies and, kind of a move away from some of the infrastructure that has worked for NFTs in the past and more towards, more low cost, high volume transactions. We may or may not be working on something like that for ourselves, and we'll definitely have some more updates on that. I won't leak anything, but I will say I strongly believe in the thesis that we are moving towards a adoption of NFTs as a technology rather than NFTs as a thing, where NFTs are not going to be this amorphous thing that people, invest in because they think there's this huge upside. It's going to be just the digital backbone for ownership on assets that can range from 1 cent to, $150,000 maybe, if the NFT represents, a house or, a car or a one-of-one piece of digital art. So I think what we're going to see is the vast majority of people, especially in the gaming space, are going to be interacting with highly efficient markets. And I think that some of those efficiencies will be driven by AI. And I think AI is going to allow for some of that. But what's most exciting to me as someone who just like babied an IP to life with the community is, if we had the AI potential we had now 4 years ago, we could have done incredible things with Satoshiverse and the amount of money we were able to raise with the community. Of course, we didn't, and I'm glad we were able to go down this path and continue to move forward. But we could have, with that same amount of money, probably done 5 times as much if we were starting now than just 4 or 5 years ago with AI. So it's exciting because that money's still going to get raised. Projects are still going to get funded, and they're going to be able to do a lot more. And maybe our expectations will adjust. But it's really cool to think that IPs will be able to be brought to life in meaningful ways that wouldn't have lived before through AI. Sorry, Ryan, if I covered too much and stole some of your thunder.
No, again, I love your whole concept of things, and some things you said that really stood out to me was you guys may or may not be doing things. Bit of a not wanting to leak anything. It's the same for me. Again, tight instructions to to not go too deep here, but yeah, I'm really excited about the whole AI concept on gaming. It's going to revolutionize something that hasn't even finished revolutionizing to start with. You also mentioned like AI replacing jobs, and absolutely it is. And, you know, throughout the course of human existence, we've always managed to find ways to put ourselves out of a job, and all it's ever done is make us more creative into finding new income streams and new development. So even though we'll find that, you know, some jobs will be taken, we're going to get a lot more value out of it with people becoming more creative just to be competitive against the AI thing. So I think that there is definitely still going to be a light in that tunnel. But overall, yeah, AI is going to change everything. Gaming, some things that I'm looking forward to is using AI to help code, to help create, and actually revolutionize development with adaptive gameplay, like a real world, real changing environment in real time. I think is a really awesome concept. NPCs, like non-player characters, you never pay attention to them, but they are what really create the world around you. Imagine having some fully realistic interactive NPCs generated by AI. I get amazed by the conversations we can already have with Grok or ChatGPT. Immersing that level of sophistication into an NPC, it's just going to grow the game up to a unreal level, and that's what really gets me excited. And of course, it's going to be a very personalized gaming experience, because that level of AI is going to make it different for everybody every single time. Especially in Web3, AI is going to be able to help manage economies, balancing game mechanics, which I think is something that could be really good for Wizardia, because, you know, in Wizardia, whoever takes the first turn does actually get a big advantage. Having some level of AI in there to help balance that's going to be based on real-time player behavior is really going to be a huge next step for strategic games as well. Not to mention, again, you know, Satoshiverse, Wizardia, you know, Apollo Entertainment, all about the lore and the backstories. Having some AI-driven storytelling and narratives behind things to jump in with those realistic NPCs is going to be next level gaming. It's going to be hard to stop, that's for sure. Regarding DeFi, this is a new kind of thought that I had, and I think it's really AI is going to have the ability to improve risk management with protocols that can analyze a ton of data and actually start predicting trends, not just with you know, like trades and prices and stuff, just what's going to be next. Is it going to be a meme super cycle? Is it going to be RWAs? Is it going to be AI? What's going to start pumping? Where can we actually tap into to grow where we're at? We can optimize yield farming strategies. It's going to help detect fraudulent activities. Anyone in crypto knows you've really got to be careful, always got to do your own research. Having the backing of AI behind you to help is really going to help move forward. And I know we've discussed it before, but the education, and when I say before, I mean this conversation. Education, it's the really is the frontier of blockchain moving forward. But unfortunately, people aren't wanting to teach themselves. They're not wanting to jump in and dive in and learn all about it. Having AI to help learn is like having a university at home. It's all the world's knowledge, all delivered in such an easy way to understand that people are going to be able to start learning it so much faster than, you know, us who at the forefront of a new world really had to dive in, really had to grind. We had to make the mistakes so that the new people that come in don't have to. That's how I think AI is going to start impacting gaming, DeFi, and, you know, the space in general.
Awesome. Well, we are coming to the end of the space, and Nick, I believe you might have had a couple updates here. I know you have to be very careful not to leak anything, but I'll let you share what you're willing to share, and then yeah, start closing us out. And then I guess maybe we can chart after these updates. We can pick the giveaway winner as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've got Danny and Lau yelling at me not to leak anything, so I'm gonna abide by their messages and keep things bottled up for now. But what I can say is that we haven't taken even the slightest break in the last year. We've been, actually, I lied. The last week and a half, we've been on holiday, and that was amazing after a crazy sprint that has been going on now. And I think a lot of it we're going to be able to talk about very soon. In fact, we're going to be having a town hall at the end of this month that I'm very much looking forward to, because we're going to get to dive in on the different things we're working on the Satoshiverse front, but also the different things that we're working on adjacent to Satoshiverse that we think are really going to help move this space forward. So definitely very exciting, and we've been working hard. I guess that's all I'll say for now, other than for those of you who didn't catch it, season 1 did just end. We had Fitzy as our leaderboard winner, who did an incredible job setting a score that, if I didn't have all the data on the back end, I don't know how he did it, but maybe next season I'll try to compete with him. And I know we've got a few other ones out there that can put it in, but Fitzy's an expert. So congratulations to Fitzy on setting a near impossible score and winning last season's speedrun leaderboard. And we will be, I guess the info point there is that you still have time. If you haven't finished the battle pass, you still have time to complete the battle pass and get the cool skins and NFT items that we have for free on that battle pass. Season 2, once it releases, it will represent the end of your opportunity to get those battle pass items. But don't worry, we're going to have a new battle pass for season 2 with all new items that you can get. So I guess I can leak that little bit of information. But yeah, we're real excited. We've got some cool things that we're working on, and just plowing ahead, experimenting, and just trying to bring the space forward. So yeah, Spencer, if you want to do the giveaway winner, then we can wrap up after that.
Perfect. Yes, the winner this week of 5 Satoshi's Crystals is Old White Dragon, OWD. Congratulations. And send us a DM with your username, although I think we probably have it somewhere, and we'll drop those into your account.
Yeah, I have a feeling we will be able to get in touch with OWD. So congratulations, OWD, and thanks for joining as always. And I see a few of our other community members out there who are always here. So thank you guys for also joining as well this week and every week. It makes it nice to kind of blab on for a long time when we see all you guys are still showing up and care what we have to say. So we'll keep doing this. You guys keep showing up, and we'll be, in good shape going into this new year. I'm excited about this year. I really do think that there's some really good conditions forming around the crypto space. As a U.S. company, we have to pay a lot more attention to what's happening in the U.S. and everything, at least from a crypto perspective, has been very positive. And so we're excited about what that's going to mean for us and the future and, all of our goals and aspirations, but also excited for, projects like Wizardia who, just keep building and doing their thing. And we keep looking for opportunities to work together and collaborate. I think that's what makes this little niche that we're in very special and gives it the potential to continue to grow. So that's kind of my segue into thanking Ryan and the rest of the speakers, or I guess to the moon, for being on. If you want to close out with anything, Ryan, just to tell people where to find Wizardia, other than, of course, following the socials, which I would recommend, let us know. But for those who don't know how to find us, that post at the top of the space is the best way to learn about the game. And, our websites and our Discord are a great place to learn more about Satoshiverse. But yeah, thank you all for joining. And thank you, Ryan, for being here. And always, as always, it's great to see you. I hope one day, maybe this is the year that we cross paths at a conference or something. We get to meet in person, because you always bring such a great perspective to these spaces. So it's always a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, I absolutely love being here. I know I say it all the time, and Danielle's probably sick of hearing it, but you guys are definitely my favorite project in the space. I love being around it, and if we get to cross at a conference, or if I get over to US and come down and visit, that'd be unreal. It'd definitely be good to put a real life personality to the project and actually see how you guys do everything for real. And again, thank you very much for having me on here. And it's always great to represent Wasadia. So anyone that wants to be a part of the Wasadia community, head over to Telegram, here on X, and of course, download the app. It's available on iOS. It's available on Android. So, get involved. Stay tuned, because some amazing things are coming.
I love it. All right, then I am going to wait a few seconds for the sound to catch up, and then I will end the space. Thank you all so much, and see you next week.